You're 20 years old standing inside a half-finished condo tower in downtown Toronto at 6:03 in the morning. The concrete floor is wet. Your gloves smell like machine oil and drywall dust. You're hauling steel guide rails and unpacking elevator doors while journeymen yell measurements over the sound of generators and hammer drills. You make around 28 Canadian dollars an hour as a first-year apprentice, and your entire body hurts before lunch. 15 years later, the same person is walking through the lobby of a 40-story office tower carrying a service contract worth more than 4 million Canadian dollars. Property managers answer your calls immediately. One emergency shutdown in a financial district can cost tenants hundreds of thousands in lost business before noon. You're no longer installing elevators. You're managing vertical infrastructure that entire cities depend on. Between those two moments sits one of the most protected and selective trades in Canada. High wages, strong unions, tight apprenticeship intake, constant risk. Most people never even get into the industry. Fewer still survive long enough to reach the top levels. This is every level of an elevator technician's career in Canada. Level 1, the helper. You're 20 years old standing outside a union hall before sunrise hoping your name gets called. A lot of people never even get this far. The elevator trade in Canada is one of the most protected blue-collar ladders in the country. Strong unions, limited intake, high wages, small crews. In some cities, thousands apply for a few dozen apprenticeship spots. A referral helps. Family connections help more. Most outsiders never see that part. Your first months barely feel technical. You're carrying rails through muddy construction sites, unloading crates full of door operators from delivery trucks, sweeping concrete dust out of elevator shafts. You spend entire mornings tightening anchors while journeyman mechanics bark measurements over the noise of impact drills and generators. In January, unfinished condo towers in Toronto feel colder inside than outside. Wind cuts through exposed floors 30 stories up. Your gloves stay wet all day. Your lunch smells like grease because everything around you smells like grease. You start around 24 Canadian dollars to $35 an hour depending on province, union status, and overtime. Sounds good for someone your age. Then you realize half your paycheck disappears into downtown rent, parking, union dues, tools, and missed hours whenever projects slow down. And construction slowdowns hit hard. One delayed concrete pour can shut an entire site down for days. New helpers are always the first people laid off. You learn quickly that nobody cares how strong you are. The trade rewards consistency. Showing up at 5:45 a.m. every day matters more than talking. Journeymen test you constantly. Some ignore you completely for weeks just to see whether you quit. A lot do. The work punishes your knees early. You climb temporary ladders carrying heavy hardware while trying not to think about the empty shaft beside you. You learn lockout procedures before touching anything electrical. One mistake around moving equipment can end your career before it starts. This is also where outsiders misunderstand the trade completely. People think elevator technicians fix elevators. At the bottom level, you're really part construction laborer, part industrial apprentice, part moving company. The gate to the next level is getting accepted into the full apprenticeship system. That means safety courses, probation hours, solid evaluations, and surviving long enough for senior mechanics to trust you around expensive equipment. Because once real systems go live, mistakes stop being cheap. Level 2. The apprentice mechanic. Now the trade starts narrowing. You're no longer just carrying material. You're learning systems that move thousands of people every day through hospitals, condos, office towers, airports, and subway stations across Canada. Your mornings start inside machine rooms filled with the smell of hot electrical components and hydraulic fluid. You learn how traction motors work, how counterweights balance loads, how controllers communicate with door operators. You spend hours reading wiring diagrams that look like another language at first. And every mistake costs money. A damaged controller board can cost tens of thousands of dollars. One incorrectly aligned door system can delay occupancy permits for an entire condo tower. The apprenticeship usually lasts 4 to 5 years depending on the province and union structure. You attend technical training blocks while working full-time on active sites. During the day, you're inside elevator shafts with a harness digging into your hips. At night, you're studying relay logic and electrical theory at your kitchen table. A lot of apprentices hit the wall here. The money improves fast. By your third or fourth year, you might clear $45 to $55 an hour plus overtime. Some apprentices in major cities touch six figures during busy construction years. But your life starts revolving around shutdowns and deadlines. Developers want elevators operational yesterday. Delays burn money every hour. Senior mechanics expect speed without sacrificing safety. You work 12-hour shifts during crunch periods installing rails, aligning cabs, testing brakes, wiring hall stations, and troubleshooting systems that refuse to communicate properly. You also learn something outsiders never see. Elevator work is dangerous in very specific ways. Not dramatic movie scene dangerous. Precision dangerous. Heavy suspended loads. Live electrical systems. Tight mechanical spaces. Temporary platforms 600 feet above ground. You become obsessive about procedures because experienced mechanics have seen what happens when somebody gets careless. And then there's the culture. The crews are small. Reputations spread fast. One apprentice who disappears during difficult work or complains constantly can get quietly frozen out of future opportunities. This is where the ladder starts becoming selective. Not everybody can handle the pressure of technical work combined with construction speed. Plenty of helpers never finish apprenticeship hours. Others fail certification exams. Some simply burn out after years of shutdown calls and physical strain. The gate forward is becoming fully licensed. Once you get there, your value changes immediately, because now you're trusted to work without supervision on systems that entire buildings depend on. Level 3. The construction mechanic. Now you're a licensed mechanic, and the expectations change overnight. Nobody explains this part to outsiders. The jump from apprentice to mechanic is not just a pay raise. It's liability. Now your name goes on work orders. Your decisions affect occupancy timelines worth millions of dollars. If a hospital elevator fails inspection because of your installation work, entire openings can get delayed. You arrive at high-rise projects before dawn carrying a Pelican case full of meters, alignment tools, and diagnostic equipment. Tower cranes swing overhead while concrete crews pour new floors above you. Somewhere below, sales offices are advertising luxury units for 1.8 million Canadian dollars each, and the elevators you install are part of what buyers are paying for. The work becomes faster and more technical at the same time. You align guide rails using laser systems, install traction machines weighing several tons, program controllers, test emergency braking systems, coordinate with electricians, sprinkler crews, HVAC teams, and city inspectors all at once. Some weeks feel like controlled chaos. Construction mechanics in cities like Vancouver or Toronto can earn 140,000 Canadian dollars to over 200,000 Canadian dollars during heavy overtime years, especially on transit projects, hospital expansions, or downtown towers running aggressive schedules. That number shocks outsiders. What they do not see is the fatigue attached to it. You might work 10 straight days inside a dusty shaft breathing concrete particles while wearing ear protection for 12 hours at a time. Your shoulders ache constantly from overhead work. Your phone buzzes all night from supervisors asking whether inspections passed. And the pressure gets personal. A single mistake can follow you for years inside the trade. Mechanics who repeatedly fail inspections stop getting assigned to premium projects. The best crews become known across entire regions. Some supervisors specifically request certain mechanics because they know those jobs stay on schedule. This is also where the hierarchy inside the trade becomes obvious. The quiet mechanics who solve problems quickly earn respect fast. The loud guys who cut corners usually disappear eventually. Hard truth. High wages in this trade are partly hazard pay for responsibility most people never want. Because elevators cannot mostly work. Either the system is safe or it is not. The gate to the next level is reputation. Not certifications anymore. Reputation. And once property owners trust you to keep live systems running instead of just building them, your leverage increases dramatically. Level 4. The service route technician. This is where the trade stops feeling like construction and starts feeling like infrastructure. You're no longer working on unfinished towers. Now you're responsible for elevators people actually depend on every day. Office workers, seniors in retirement homes, patients inside hospitals, tenants trapped 20 floors above ground during outages. Your route might cover 30 to 60 elevators across a city. At 7:10 a.m., you're resetting a fault code in a downtown office tower. By noon, you're inside a hospital machine room replacing a worn brake coil while nurses wait nearby because one elevator is already offline. At 2 a.m., your phone rings because a condo elevator trapped 6 people during a snowstorm. Your van becomes a rolling workshop. Circuit boards, door rollers, belts, relays, hydraulic oil, diagnostic laptops, coffee cups stacked on the dashboard because some weeks you barely sleep properly. This is where outsiders finally misunderstand the trade completely. Construction mechanics build systems. Service technicians keep cities moving. And when elevators fail, panic starts fast. A broken elevator inside a 40-story condo turns into hundreds of angry residents immediately. In hospitals, downtime becomes serious within minutes. Property managers remember the technicians who answer calls quickly, especially during emergencies. The money reflects that pressure. Experienced service route technicians in major Canadian cities regularly clear 160,000 Canadian dollars to over 220,000 Canadian dollars with overtime and emergency callbacks. Some weeks your paycheck looks unbelievable. Then you realize you worked 70 hours and slept with your phone beside your pillow every night. Hard truth. The highest paid technicians are often the least available people in their own lives. Birthdays interrupted. Dinner plans canceled. Long weekends destroyed by shutdowns. And this is where the ladder narrows hard. A lot of mechanics hate service work because it exposes weaknesses instantly. You cannot hide behind crews anymore. When a system fails repeatedly, you are the one standing in front of frustrated building managers trying to explain why. The best route technicians develop something difficult to teach. Pattern recognition. You hear strange vibrations before motors fail. You recognize electrical smells before components burn out. You know which aging condo boards delay maintenance too long and which systems become dangerous during extreme cold. The gate forward is specialization. Because once you become the person who fixes problems nobody else can solve, your value changes again. Level 5. The adjuster and troubleshooter. Less than a small percentage of technicians ever make it here. This is the level where the trade becomes almost invisible to outsiders. You're the person companies call when every normal fix has already failed. Luxury condo elevators that randomly fault once every 3 days. High-speed office towers with vibration issues above the 30th floor. Escalator systems inside transit stations shutting down during rush hour. Software communication failures between controllers and destination dispatch systems. Most mechanics replace parts. You diagnose systems. Your tools change at this level too. Laptops replace half the wrenches in your bag. You use oscilloscopes, proprietary software, voltage analyzers, and diagnostic interfaces connected directly into control systems worth more than some houses. You also spend a lot more time alone. Sometimes you're inside silent machine rooms at midnight trying to recreate intermittent failures that only happen under specific traffic loads. Other times you're standing beside engineers and property executives while they stare at you waiting for answers nobody else could provide. This level pays heavily because very few people can handle the technical pressure. Experienced adjusters and troubleshooters can move well past 200,000 Canadian dollars annually with specialized contracts, emergency premiums, and consulting work attached to major infrastructure projects. But the trade-off becomes obvious fast. You're never fully off-duty. Your phone rings because another mechanic cannot clear a fault. Another building keeps failing inspections. Another transit authority needs somebody willing to work overnight shutdowns during freezing weather. Most people never realize how much software now controls elevators. Modern systems track traffic flow, energy use, door timing, and dispatch patterns constantly. Some skyscraper elevators communicate across entire building networks. One corrupted update or programming conflict can shut down dozens of units simultaneously. And when those failures happen, the pressure becomes public immediately. Tenants film outages. Developers panic. Property firms threaten penalties. This is where the ladder gets brutally selective. The technicians who survive here usually have years of field experience combined with obsessive technical habits. You cannot fake competence at this level. Systems either start working again or they do not. Hard truth. Some of the highest paid people in the trade quietly carry stress levels that destroy marriages, sleep, and health. The gate to the next level is no longer technical skill alone. It's relationships, leadership, and trust across entire operations. Level 6, the supervisor. Now your phone rings before sunrise for completely different reasons. A mechanic calls in sick during a hospital modernization project. A condo board threatens penalties over repeated shutdowns. A union grievance lands on your desk. A developer wants to know why elevators are still offline before tenant turnover starts next week. You stop fixing elevators yourself most days. Now you manage the people who do. At this level, you oversee crews across multiple projects or service territories. Maybe you manage 20 mechanics across downtown Toronto. Maybe you coordinate modernization work across Calgary high-rises and suburban hospital systems. Your mornings start with scheduling problems and end with budget meetings. You still wear steel-toe boots, but now half your day happens inside boardrooms instead of shafts. Developers, procurement managers, inspectors, union reps, and property executives all want different things from you at the same time. And the money attached to delays becomes massive. One stalled modernization project inside a commercial tower can bleed tens of thousands of Canadian dollars per day. Transit shutdowns create political pressure immediately. Hospital outages become public relations problems fast. This is where outsiders finally see the business side of the trade. You manage overtime costs, vehicle fleets, callbacks, safety reports, inspection failures, labor shortages, and customer contracts simultaneously. One serious accident can trigger investigations, lawsuits, and insurance reviews affecting entire regions. Supervisors in major Canadian markets can earn roughly 160,000 Canadian dollars to 250,000 Canadian dollars with bonuses, pension structures, and vehicle packages included. But most mechanics never want this job. Because management changes the stress completely. You absorb everyone else's failures at once. Good supervisors become valuable because they understand both sides of the industry. They can speak to mechanics on-site at 6 a.m. and negotiate contracts with property firms at noon. This is also where the ladder becomes political. Relationships matter now. Which crews trust you? Which developers request your teams specifically? Which clients renew maintenance contracts because your region stays operational? The gate to the final level is ownership. And ownership changes the risk entirely. Level 7. The independent contractor. At the top of the ladder, you stop selling your labor. You sell access. Maybe you start with a small modernization company handling aging elevators in mid-rise condos around Ottawa. Maybe you specialize in maintenance contracts for hotels across Vancouver. Maybe you buy service accounts from retiring contractors one building at a time. First, ownership feels exciting. Then the bills arrive. Insurance premiums, licensing requirements, fleet costs, emergency staffing, legal exposure, specialized tools, inventory, office staff, compliance audits. One lawsuit can wipe out years of profit. Most technicians never make this jump because the liability becomes enormous. Elevator companies are not normal small businesses. You're responsible for infrastructure people trust with their lives every day. But if you survive long enough, the economics become powerful. Recurring maintenance contracts create stable cash flow. Modernization projects bring huge margins. Emergency service work prints money during storms, blackouts, and aging infrastructure failures. A strong regional contractor can generate millions in annual revenue servicing towers, hospitals, transit systems, and commercial properties across Canadian cities. And now the status changes too. Property executives take your meetings. Developers invite you into bidding discussions before projects even break ground. Instead of chasing overtime hours, you negotiate multi-year contracts worth more than entire crews once earned combined. But the pressure never disappears. Every elevator failure still lands somewhere on your desk eventually. That's the hidden reality of the ladder. At the bottom, your body absorbs the punishment. At the top, your name absorbs it. And very few people ever stand at both ends long enough to understand the full cost. The elevator trade in Canada looks simple from the lobby level. Stainless steel doors opening and closing all day without thought. But behind those doors sits a ladder most people never see. Years inside freezing towers, missed weekends, technical exams, shutdown calls after midnight, knees worn down climbing unfinished shafts, pressure that follows you home long after the workday ends. The money is real. The leverage is real. The rarity is real too, because elevators are one of the few systems modern cities cannot function without for even a single day. And the people trusted to build, maintain, and control those systems end up carrying responsibility most workers never experience. Some stay helpers forever. Some become mechanics making more than lawyers. A few build companies that quietly control the movement of entire skylines. But nobody skips levels. Every technician who reaches the top starts the same way. Cold hands, steel boots, concrete dust, and a long ride up,